Thanks, Sophia. I'm so excited to be here with so many inspiring leaders from the voice industry. I'm Caitlin Gutekunst, the Senior Director of Marketing and Business Development at Creativity, Inc. We're a design and development studio based in San Carlos that has helped the world's leading toy and entertainment brands launch over 7,000 products in the past 22 years. And today, I'm excited to talk with Margo Bulka, the Principal Strategist from WillowTree, about how agencies help brands create a compelling voice strategy. Welcome, Margo.
Hi, Caitlin. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. As you mentioned, I'm a Principal Product Strategist at WillowTree. We are a digital product agency. We help some of the world's most admired companies on their path to digital leadership. We do full stack development, strategy, design, research, growth marketing, all of that folding in considerations for things like SEO and security. Today, I brought with me an example of voice strategy in action. So this demonstration shows what we have been exploring in the voice space recently.
Hi, could I get one small meat lovers pizza and 2 large pepperoni pizzas?
So what's depicted is an in-app menu ordering experience in which we're using multimodal, so combining voice and touch display.
I love this example, Margo. I think that it shows how you can use voice to reduce friction in a key moment of the customer journey in order to find success.
Yes, exactly. So the multimodal functionality is incredible in how it can reduce that friction. To your point, that was what we kept as our North Star, is thinking about the customer experience and how we could make it easier in that traditional menu ordering experience. If we were just to do interaction in a touch screen, we have exploring the menu, identifying an item, configuring that item, adding it to a cart, and then repeat for the subsequent items. And this is where you have that multi-step process that's reduced down to 2 steps if you do it in multimodal. So you have the verbal input and visual output. The VP of engineering for Google Assistant, Scott Huffman, had said, screens will change everything in voice. And we believe that strongly. And there's 2 reasons for that. So first is it's acknowledging existing user behavior. So Google's research has indicated that about half the time that people interact with voice, they end their journey on a screen. So people are already going there. The second component here, and this is a really important one, is the speed efficiency gains seen through multimodal. And if there's one thing we know, that there is always a consumer appetite for speed and things moving more quickly. We have data points around website load times that if 40% of users will abandon a web page if it doesn't load within 3 seconds. So if something can be done faster, people are eager to do it. It's also worth noting that an on-screen experience for good multimodal isn't static. So to pull it off successfully, you have to consider things like visual design, content design, conversational design, and even haptic design. So all of these things work in concert to create a user-centric multimodal experience. And that's what's going to be imperative for successful voice strategy.
I love how your example about this multimodal experience talks about how the screen and the voice really interact so that it feels like the technology is not getting away with what the user needs in their journey. It shows just how human-centric voice really is, especially when combined with other platforms. So you talk a lot about utility, and I think that's one of the primary use cases for brands when they're designing compelling voice experience. Given our background and client base of entertainment, we're also thinking about ways that we can create new moments of delight for consumers, especially for kids and their families. So I brought with me a demo experience that shows how the type of interactivity that voice and the presence of screens brings can create just a more engaging and immersive experience in an entertainment setting. Creativity partnered with Fremantle and Don Clemente to launch a Google Assistant enhanced version of Loteria, a classic Mexican bingo game invented in 1887. Obviously, the 200-year heritage shows just how much staying power and how important this is to families to be playing together. Here's the demo now.
Welcome to Loteria Don Clemente, Mexico's traditional loteria game since 1887. Do you want to play the classic game, the Loteria quiz, or learn more about Loteria?
When
When you have the pattern, shout, "Hey Google, Lotería," to win. The first card is La Estrella, the stars. La Escalera, the ladder.
What's really great about this experience is if you have the physical board game, you can play with that and use what you have in your home. But if not, we have a mobile-based board version so that you can pull out your phone and continue to play around the table with friends, even if you don't have that physical board experience. I think this is just another example, as the one with your pizza ordering app, about how multimodal experiences make the game experience or the ordering experience or any other experience that you have in the customer journey just that much more accessible and human-centric.
Yes, it's really interesting that you share that. Just reflecting on this, the demo that I shared was really about trying to reduce friction in the flow. The other half of the coin here is driving engagement, and what you shared does that beautifully. This reminds me of a quote I heard from Cliff Kwong, who is an award-winning UX designer. He shared that in order to create meaningful new products, you have to do one of two strategies. The first is to figure out what's causing pain and get rid of it. And the second is to figure out what people are already doing and create a new product that is easier to do that. So that really hits on those two components which we've shared, which is driving engagement and reducing friction. What he goes on to share is that the truest material for making new things isn't aluminum or carbon fiber, and perhaps in our case NLP, it's behavior. And at WillowTree, we really believe that strongly. So there's one piece of this that we're driving user value with these types of products and experiences. The other piece of the equation is business value. And that's where we've seen a lot of misconceptions about how that's derived. We still get calls from our clients and prospective clients, and these are some of the world's biggest companies, that say, we need to do voice, we know it's important, but we're not sure what the ROI looks like. And that right there, it's important to recognize that voice as a feature is not going to create something meaningful and impactful. It's important that we consider voice to be part of a broader digital ecosystem and a digital experience. And this is what goes into creating really strong voice strategy engagements, is thinking about driving user value, but also understanding that it's really helping the business achieve their bottom line goals, whether that's driving loyalty, a faster checkout rate, as we've seen with the pizza example, or revenue downstream.
Yeah, I love what you bring up about this with the type of ways that you can deliver ROI with voice. And you named two really great examples. I've noticed since I joined Voice 3 years ago that this conversation has really evolved away from individual products or looking at voice as a channel into ways that you can plug into the deeper ecosystem that voice offers. One example that I love to talk about from our portfolio is with the Disney Hits Challenge, which is a trivia game that has clips of Disney Music's classic library. When we first launched it in 2018 on Amazon Alexa, we thought of it as a way to engage audiences differently. But as new features enabled us to connect to the ecosystem that Disney has on different streaming music platforms, all of a sudden we found a different way to drive an ROI for that brand. So in the app, we invite users to check out a playlist. And so they can actually go and discover the Disney Hits playlist on platforms like Spotify or Amazon Music or YouTube.
I think a fascinating space to think about is the emerging markets and their comfort with voice. So as I mentioned, Amazon Alexa was introduced in 2014. Prior to that, the iPhone was introduced in America in 2007. So we had a 7-year gap between mobile and voice skills. And so for many Americans, it's very much the norm that they have their interactions with their mobile device with these high-tech touch screens, touch displays. And they've been iteratively adding voice capabilities into their lifestyles with things like Google Assistant and the push-to-talk capabilities there. Meanwhile, in emerging markets, largely have been able to bypass the PC era, and devices like iPhones, because of the price point, are just largely not available to the mass market. So instead, what's occurred is manufacturers have been developed low-cost, efficient feature phones that have voice capabilities built into them in order to serve the device owner with all the capability of voice, and that's occurring off-device. That said, as time passes, we expect voice to be table stakes globally, as it's the most accessible way to serve these audiences.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point about how, looking at bringing your audience to younger populations and also looking globally to people who might struggle with different languages or with different technology constraints based on the cost of different products is something that we can overcome through innovation in this type of technology. The third population that I want to make sure we mention that are really well served by voice and especially multimodal experiences are people who have impairments, whether it's hearing, visual or other physical impairments, or even some challenges to overcome, like with a global setting. So I just want to make sure that we mention that when voice is used in tandem with other products and screens, it can make things much more accessible and adapt to people's needs. So in addition to talking about all of these great populations that voice is serving and the user side, I think it's important to mention that having the working class that is diverse and representative of the end user will just make the experiences and the products that we produce that much more compelling and sensitive to a user's needs.
Yeah, absolutely. So our differences, visible and invisible, benefit our teams, our communities, and the products we create. So across the industry, there is clear pressure to build teams with diverse backgrounds and skills and perspectives. But at the end of the day, we cannot create the world's best products if everyone in the room looks the same. That said, we know that there's always work to be done. And I think as technologists, we have an individual responsibility to make strides for a more inclusive tech community and voice community. And I think that can take a lot of different forms: mentorship and networking and various professional groups. I know I recently signed up for the Women in Voice to join the Women in Voice crew. I know you're a board member, and I'd love for you to share what you guys are up to, because I know I'm pretty inspired by it.
Yes, I'm so excited to share this community with you, Margo, and with other leaders in our industry like Leslie Garcia Amaya, who talked earlier about our new partnership with Google Assistant. Women in Voice is a nonprofit that's on a mission to connect, amplify, and empower women and diverse populations in the voice tech industry. Working together and with our allies, we're creating great experiences so that women can go to events, have special resources, see other talented women and meet with them and discuss with them, and receive the type of mentorship that I think is so important for our population. I also want to mention an exciting announcement that in partnership with Google, we're going to be extending our annual mentorship program at Women in Voice into something that repeats many times over the years, so that we can connect even more women to the mentors and the mentees who could so benefit from these type of connections.
That is awesome. That's very exciting news. And where should folks go if they want to sign up?
You can visit our website, womeninvoice.org. You can also follow us across social channels. We're really active on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. There are 20 chapters in 15 different countries. So even whatever language you speak, you can find people to talk to about voice and learn how to stay in this industry and that you belong. Well, Margo, it's been so fun having a conversation with you and hearing about all of your insights to designing great voice experiences.
Likewise, it's been a lot of fun.
Back to you, Sophia.